Welcome to the Uncensored Self Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Gillen, and this is a space where women who value achievement, success, accomplishment, and wealth, but also crave happiness, love, joy, and deep fulfillment come to remember that we get to have both. Not by doing more, but by being more of who we truly are. In this show, we explore identity, energy, alignment, and embodiment because you didn't come here to follow someone else's rules. You came to right your own. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Ryan Gillen, and today we are going to talk about the feminine energy advantage in sales and marketing. And when I tell you I am stoked for this conversation, I am stoked for this conversation. Because if I had to pick one thing to tell you, this was the thing I struggled with the most on my energy game journey and learning how to actually run an intuitive business was in my sales and marketing. So for those of you that don't know, I actually had a 15-year corporate career in sales and marketing. So I sold advertising. I started selling radio advertising when I was 21 years old. Eventually in like 2010, 2011, got into startups in the tech space, got into sales training and sales enablement, built and trained sales organizations. And then when I first became an entrepreneur back in 2019, I was teaching sales to new entrepreneurs and then went on to run a marketing agency. So sales and marketing has been my jam. Here's the rub, is that everything that I was doing in sales and marketing was 110% in my masculine energy. This is what led me to studying the law of gender, which we're going to talk a lot about today, but what led me to really a lot of question marks of like, okay, I understand the energy game. I understand manifestation. I understand law of attraction. I understand law of vibration, but what the fuck does that mean for me? Because like I run a business, you know? So do I have to market my stuff? Do I not have to market my stuff? Do I have to sell my stuff? Do I not have to sell my stuff? What do I do? How do I do it? What are the appropriate steps? Should I be following somebody else's blueprint? Like there were question marks for days here. Like I could so get into, I understood the mechanics, but I didn't understand how to move through the world with this information. And that's actually what led to studying the law of gender, the development of my feminine energy archetypes, and ultimately this conversation right here. The feminine energy archetypes are the tools that I started using to coach myself and then also my clients to help us figure out how do we use energy in our role as business person or career woman, right? Whatever you identify. I will tell you this particular episode, we're going to be talking about sales and marketing a lot. So this is going to be very catered to my entrepreneurs, my salespeople, my individual contributors. Of course, there's always value in here because even if you aren't an employee in somebody's company, like you're still leading a team, you're still selling shit all day long. So you're going to find value in this conversation. But just so you know, today we're going to talk about somebody who is actually responsible for going out and business development, marketing yourself, networking, social media, whatever that looks like for you. Don't really care. It's not relevant to the conversation, but that we have to go out and do that because again, most of the way, at least I was teaching sales and marketing was very masculine, right? It was just follow the system. It was logic. It's a numbers game. If you just follow the numbers and you just do the steps and you just do the things, you'll get the result. And that worked very much for me for many, many, many years until it didn't, which is what led me to all of the work that I do now, which is fun. So I want to refresh you really quick on the feminine energy archetypes. But first we'll start with the law of gender because I think that's really important. The law of gender says that everything has both masculine and feminine energy. Masculine and feminine energy, not masculine and feminine gender types, right? Masculine and feminine energy. And both are required. Both are required, right? We can't grow an apple tree without a seed, right? So we need the seed, we need the masculine energy, but then we also need the soil, we need the feminine energy that allows it to grow, right? So we need both of those. And especially in business, we need both of those. The challenge that most of us have is because business in and of itself puts us into our masculine energy that we're out of balance and we've left our feminine energy, what I call our dreamer, out of the equation. So when I developed the feminine energy archetypes, it was really to help me understand what energy am I in right now, right? Like where am I at? So the doer is our masculine energy. And as the word represents, it's the doing, it's the action taking. I say that masculine energy, doer energy is about the result. It's singular, linear, step by step, very traditional. What you know about business is doer energy. It's about the result. The dreamer energy is about the experience, right? So it's great that we hit our sales goals, but if we hit our sales goals because we made 4,222 cold calls and we wanted to cry the entire time, we ask ourselves the question, is it fucking work? Right? And then ultimately the alchemist is when we learn how to ebb and flow back between doer and dreamer. We know when to move and when to wait, right? We know when we need linear and when we need structure and when we need creativity and play and intuition and space, right? That's what I call the alchemist energy. And the alchemist energy is pure magic when it comes to sales and marketing. Like I've been helping my clients lately build really intuitive sales and marketing strategies, and it is true alchemy, and the results that they're getting is just bananas. So that's what we're going to talk about today is how do we bring our feminine energy into sales and marketing? So, but first I want to address something that as I was prepping for this episode, I would tell you, I didn't expect to come up with, but I'm like, ooh, a light bulb or almost like a puzzle piece clicked into place for something that I remember back when I was teaching sales to new entrepreneurs, right? So many women struggled with sales and marketing, right? They would come to me and they'd be like, I'm really good at what I do, but I suck at sales and marketing. Like, I don't know how to market myself. I don't know how to sell my services. I don't know how to have sales conversations. I don't know how to tell people about what I do. And again, at the time, because I was so in the mind game and so in my doer energy, is that I just was like, well, just follow these steps, right? Like to me, it was just do these things. And obviously now I know there's so much more to it. But at the time, I didn't understand why. And it's because, again, traditional sales training or marketing training is very masculine, assertive, action-oriented, pressure, right? You got to go out and make something happen. You have to make the calls. You have to go to the networking events. You have to send the DMs. You have to push content in the world. You have to, persuade people to buy from you. You have to convince them why you're valuable. You have to prove your worthiness, right? You have to give value before they'll pay you. And that is very, very masculine. So the women who were asking me those questions, what I can now see is they were stronger in their dreamer energy, right? Those strategies felt really unnatural and really out of alignment to them, almost like, accosting people. They were like, oh gosh, I don't want to do that. If I have to do that, that's a no for me. I didn't know that's what was happening at the time because I didn't know this material, but that's what they were saying to me. And those people wound up not being a great fit for my services because my sales and marketing strategies were extremely effective, but they were very much in doer energy. They were just follow the process, reach out to a certain number of people every single day, put out certain number of pieces of content, go to a certain number of events, right? The more people you talk to, the more money you will make. Like, that was my mantra for fucking years. So when people would come to me and they would say, like, I just don't like doing this, I didn't understand at the time, but that's why, because what I was teaching was very much in that doer energy, and they did spend more time in their feminine energy. And so they weren't necessarily aligned at the time. And I can also now see that anybody who bought that program and didn't have success in that program, that is why. And that is actually explains why this conversation is so motherfucking important, right? Like, if you are very heavily in your dreamer energy and in your feminine energy, and you try to, join a business coaching program or something, or implement some strategy that is extremely in the masculine and follows a very masculine energy vibe, it's not going to work for you because, again, it's pushing you so far out of your comfort zone. I mean, eventually it could, right? Like, you could get to that point, but initially it's going to feel very out of alignment. And it's also just not necessary, right? Like, it's not necessary to force yourself to do shit that you hate because, again, your energy is what attracts anyway. So we want to make sure that we're doing something that's really, really aligned. But that was just kind of an aha moment that I had when I was prepping today, that I was like, ooh, that's a fun one. I think I want to share that in the pod, because if you are one of these people listening right now who does, use a lot of masculine energy in the doing of your job, but you do feel a little uncomfortable in your sales and marketing, that's typically why. Because, again, it's going to trip the trigger of your feminine energy where you're like, ooh, you want me to go out and like accost people and chase them down. And that doesn't feel good to you because, again, you naturally, your human instinct is to keep yourself safe, right? Putting yourself out there for risk and rejection is, you run the risk of, being eaten by a tiger if you do that, right? So it's the human instinct that's telling you that, but that's what's happening to you in the moment. I just realized that today. So you're welcome. All right. So here we are. We see two camps: women over relying on their masculine, right? Over relying on the doing of their sales and marketing systems, burnout, overwhelm, chasing the business, right? And then women resisting the masculine entirely. So avoiding sales, thinking marketing isn't for them, thinking they're just not, it's just not good for them, right? But either way, the imbalance creates struggle. What our goal is alchemy. Our goal is the alchemist energy, right? That we do both, because, again, the law of gender says that both are required. So I'm going to talk about our masculine energy and our feminine energy, and then go through kind of bringing it all together for you in this conversation. This might be a little bit longer than usual, but I'm going to try to get through it. I'm always try to keep us around 30-ish minutes. I think I do that somewhat selfishly because that's the length of which I prefer to consume content. But masculine energy in sales and marketing, this is your doer. So this is linear, logical, step by step, right? My 20-year sales career in sales and marketing could not have been more masculine, right? Agency, corporate, traditional frameworks, just follow the system. Your old school Sandler sales training, the old white guy model of, just go out into the world and schmooze enough people and all the things, right? Everything had a formula. There was a formula for the right energy pitch that was going to get you, or elevator pitch, right? The right pitch that was going to get people to want to talk to you at a networking event, right? There was a script for the exact right thing to say when you cold called. There was a script for the exact right thing to say when you reached out to a stranger, right? There were blueprints of like, this is what you should be doing every single day, right? There were SOPs. It was so very organized. It was a machine, right? I say this all the time when I talk about stop running your business like a man, right? You are not a fucking machine. You are a masterpiece. And so for me, this approach worked though, because I was so aligned with my masculine energy, because I was so obsessed with results that I built success. But the cost of this, guys, and all of you are probably experiencing this to some level, is that that if you aren't doing, nothing moves. You're going to create, if you just take enough action, you're going to create results. We all know that to be true. But the problem is that if we overly rely on our doer energy, if you aren't doing, nothing moves. There's constant pressure. You feel like there's always more work to be done and more work to be done and more work to be done, because if you're not actually doing anything to sell your services or market your services or connect with new people, then there is nothing coming to you, right? So it's that burnout. It's that sales engine exhaustion where you're running as a machine, and then eventually the machine isn't running at 100% because the machine is fucking tired, right? So then what's our feminine energy in sales and marketing? So what's our dreamer? So the dreamer energy, it's creativity, right? It's intuition, it's play, it's emotion, it's connection. And in business, or, just really in life, feminine energy is the experience. So masculine energy, your doer energy, is about creating a result. So following an exact sales formula to get, to reach out to 10 people, to book one appointment, run X number of appointments, get Y number of opportunities, right? You all know fucking sales math. I used to have a sales math calculator, guys. Like, I kid you not, when I was teaching sales to new entrepreneurs, it was like a freebie that you could download. What was your sales math calculator? Oh my God. I'm like giggling as I think about this, like, holy fucking bananas. Like, that's how in my masculine was. Like, here's your sales math calculator. Here's what you need to do every single day to generate results, right? Masculine. Feminine is, what's the experience? Not just for you as the doer of the task, but also for the person on the other end, right? Like, if you are, being offensive in some way, shape, or form, if you're annoying people, if you are cold calling, if people don't like it, it's just not a good experience for either one of us. So when we invite our feminine energy, it's, what's the experience, right? What is the experience of selling my marketing and selling my services? If growing my business is a priority that I have, and sales and marketing is a part of that, I can't create an experience I fucking hate and expect success, because you cannot have an unhappy journey to a happy place. You can't torture yourself enough doing shit that you don't fucking want to do to make millions of dollars, because if you do, you will hate it when you get there. Ask me how I know, right? So without feminine energy, sales does feel mechanical. It feels disconnected. It's why you're like, I could just have a VA go send those 10 emails, because you're totally disconnected with it. It's not about the person on the other end. It's about just checking a task, right? When we bring the feminine energy in, there's a person on the other end of this. Who is that person? How do we connect with that person, right? We are emotional beings, right? So when we bring emotion into the sales process, I don't care what you're selling or who you're selling to, in any way, shape, or form, you're going to connect with people. And as humans, we want connection. We desire connection. We need connection. So when you bring that connection into your sales and marketing and add in having fun at the same time, you're instantly more magnetic, right? So I want to give you some examples here. I had a client who's working with a real estate coach, right? And their belief is that you have to make X number of calls every day. It's like an hour of calls every day, right? And she hates it. She fucking hates doing it. But she's like, I paid this coach, and this is my goal, and this is where I want to get. And I coached her. I said, we have two choices here, right? Choice number one is you need to align your energy. You made a commitment. You bought this program. You want to make the calls. You commit to making the fucking calls, and you line up with the calls, right? Like, that's an option. When it comes to your energy, you can make a decision and line up with the decision. So if you want your decision to be today that you want to make these calls every day, then we need to energetically get on board. Or option B is we invite our feminine energy into the party, and we say, well, what's the point of the calls, right? Well, the point of the calls is to connect with people, to build relationships. Okay, perfect. You love connecting with people and build relationships. What are the ways you want to do that? And she starts making a list of like 7 or 8 different ways she loves to connect with people and build relationships. I'm like, cool, why don't you do that? Like, if the point of making the calls, the result that you're going for is connection, doer energy, right? What is the best way to connect with people and build relationships that feels fun to you? Dreamer energy. So we kept the result, but we changed the experience. And what is changing in her business right now is fucking bananas. Bananas. Like, we're talking refilled her pipeline to the tune of like $15 to $20 million worth of opportunity between now and the end of the year. And the only thing that we did differently is we stopped doing the shit that she hated, but we still focused on getting the results, which was building relationships and talking to people. But what we changed was doing it in a really aligned way. And because it's in a way that she likes to socialize, she likes to be around people. That's her life and that's who she is. It's working for her because she's excited and she's having fun. And when you're excited and you're having fun and you're being creative and you're being playful, the results become so much easier. It doesn't feel so fucking hard. This is why I say all the time, living makes me money, right? Like, the more I am doing the things I enjoy doing, the more magnetic I become, both in the business and everywhere in life, right? So that's what we mean by like true alchemy, is like, we still need the result, right? The sales and marketing still has to produce results for the business to stay alive, right? But we don't have to do it like machines. And that's what I really hope that you're getting out of this, right? Another client of mine, one who has actually, I talk about her quite a bit, she has very little marketing experience and ultimately decided to work with me before hiring a marketing coach, which she did go on to hire, which was really great. But she tells me all the time, she's like, I'm so glad that I hired you first because I have such a stronger foundation of like what I want out of my sales and marketing. So it's really cool watching her go through this. But one of the things is she wanted to launch this workshop, this paid workshop that she was hosting. And so we sat down on a call one day and literally just mapped out. I'm like, well, what would, what do you want? Again, what's the result? So we have to have the doer energy. We want to sell the program, right? We want to enroll people in it. So what's the result that we want and what would feel good, right? She's like, well, I love the content and I love talking about this and I love talking about this. And I'm like, okay, cool. How much time can you commit to this? And what about this? And what about this? And before you knew it, within an hour and a half, we have this entire intuitive marketing plan that she executed on and fucking crushed it in her launch. And it was so simple and it was so easy. And it was all her idea, tapping into what is the result that I want and what are the things that feel most aligned. That's the point here. That's the energy game in action. That's the feminine energy advantage. Instead of just saying, I'm going to torture myself trying to get a result, it's the best way to get a result is to get a result in a way that I am really fucking excited about. That is bringing your dreamer in. And then we're in pure on Alchemist energy and opportunities are popping like popcorn. So in addition to her selling those spots to the workshop that she wanted to sell, she's also got people reaching out to her about private coaching too, which she's now charging more than she has ever charged before. She's like, Ryan, I would have never thought to charge this much before our work together. Like that is how essential this is in business, right? This is what we talk about when people say business can be easy, right? Because I used to hear that all the time when I started doing this work. It was like, well, if you learn universal law and you can just manifest clients or manifest your business, and you're like, that's great. What the fuck does that mean? Like, and people would say, oh, it should be easy. And I'm like, easy, define easy. And so now the way that I really define easy using the feminine energy archetypes in sales and marketing is it's still work, right? Like we still chose to have businesses and to have jobs and to do the things that we're doing, but it's doing things that play to your strengths, that are part of your gifts, the things that you would naturally incline to do anyway, because when you do those things, you feel good, right? When you do those things, you feel aligned, and that's what makes you magnetic. That's why the results come so much easier. It's not that you're never working. It's that the work that you're doing is enjoyable, so it's easier to do. And when your energy you start to combine your effort and energy instead of relying fully on your effort, that's where like the quantum shit starts to happen and like the results start to pop. And it's so cool to watch. So cool to watch. I'm obsessed, right? But another thing that I learned is I had to shift my beliefs about people. This is such an important part of this conversation because again, the old masculine business paradigm about people and your audience, right? Like I think of Alex Hermosi and how he talks about like, if I were to start a business today, like sell shit that rich people will buy, right? That's his whole thing. Sell shit that rich people will buy. And it's this idea, and I see this a lot in headlines where people will talk about like, if you want high value clients, if you want high ticket buyers, and if you want high value, like just the words that people talk about, which basically say the people who don't have any money and can't afford your really expensive thing, they suck, they're terrible. Please don't ever market to them. They're horrible. Only market to people with money without any thought to like, who do you like to serve? What's fun for you? What do you want? All of those different things, right? Does that make sense? You guys have seen that where you're like, high value people do this. And so what I noticed in myself, I'm going to tell you what I noticed in myself is I was starting to very much judge people, right? There were people who had money and people didn't. How much money was your business making? What neighborhood did you live in? Where were you from? What did you do? How long have you been in the industry? If you weren't somebody that I thought you could afford my services, I didn't want to talk to you. How horrible is that? And I almost like a little embarrassed to admit it out loud, but I had to stop seeing people as dollar signs and I had to start seeing them as people that I wanted to serve. And I know that sounds cold, but the truth of the matter is if you are picking and choosing who you choose to connect with based on whether or not you think they can add value to you, you are doing this. Okay. You might not be telling yourself this is what you're doing, but this is exactly what you're doing. If you were only willing to go to certain networking events because the right people will be in those rooms and that there's the wrong people over there. Because the truth of the matter is when you play the energy game and you invite the alchemist into this conversation, you realize that any room that I am in is in the right room. I'm never in a million years going to wind up in the wrong room because it's attraction, right? Attraction. I'm only going, like, I would never be in a room that's not aligned for me. unless I ignored my intuition and went into that room, right? But if I felt compelled to go to an event, or I felt compelled to go to a networking event, or felt compelled to reach out to a person, or felt compelled to create a certain piece of content, or felt compelled to write a certain email, right? Like, to me, I would not have that idea if it was not aligned, and it was just not aligned, right? So this idea, like, I had to change the way that I see people. I see all people as humans, as people I love. And then I see my work as something that all people value. That was another thing too, right? There was a belief system that was like, well, people who, you know, like, when you start to view people as dollar signs, it becomes a problem. And I didn't realize that I was doing, when I was doing it and you told me I was doing it, I would have told you there was no way in fucking hell, because I did genuinely care about my clients. And I did genuinely care about my clients and about the work, but I also very much cared about money. And not to say that I don't care about money now, but to me, money is a byproduct of my energy. I cannot possibly be in the wrong place. I cannot possibly attract the wrong people as long as I take care of my energy. So I no longer worry about, I'm going to wind up on the phone with somebody who's going to waste my time, or be a freebie seeker, or a tire kicker, or isn't going to want to buy from me, or these people aren't ready, or they need to go through this 12-step funnel before they're ready. I just decided that I wanted to respect people. Like, what's my buying process? You know, almost everything I buy, you know, I connect with people in some way. If it's like coaching or consulting, like what I do, I will go listen to their podcast and buy their stuff, right? And I think of realtors, I did real estate with people that were my friends. You know, when I think of other services, it's like referrals from other people. And somebody would say, oh, you know, such and such moving company, you know, cool, you know, and then I go look them up online and make the phone call, right? Like, that's my buying process. So to me, if I go out into the world with the idea that it's not just marketing to the right buyers or marketing to the right people, it's being a magnet for opportunities all of the time, because that's just who the fuck I am, is so very different. It is such a different way. I now see in this, Courtney says this all the time, Courtney Benson, a client who dubbed me the business therapist, right? Opportunities find me every day. Opportunities find me every single day. I do the work, right? I have a system, I have a process, I follow it, you know, but I am in true alchemy all the time. Like, I know absolutely positively what the action items are required to run the sales and marketing for my company, right? And I also know energetically what is required to hit the sales and marketing goals for my company. And so I'm able to ebb and flow between on and off and in and out in a really beautiful way using these things. So I hope that this is tracking, because I just kind of got lost in my thoughts. But shifting your, you know, your beliefs about people, I think is really, really, is really, really important. Because again, if we just see people as buyers, as we see people as good buyers or bad buyers, or people who can afford it or can't afford it, or freebie seekers or whatever, right? Like, that judgment of other people is repelling, right? And the idea that, like, when we play the energy game, the idea that anybody can even wind up on a call with me or in a conversation with me that isn't values aligned isn't true, right? That is a belief that you just have. And so we work through that as well, right? So how do we bring it together? Alchemy. I feel like I've been doing that along the way, but I'm trying to stick to my notes, right? It's the integration of the doer and the dreamer, right? So it starts with asking yourself questions like, what sales and marketing strategies do I enjoy? Like I was telling you about my client, where we shifted her from making an hour's worth of calls to really focusing on what she enjoyed, right? How do I want people to experience me, and in turn, my business, my brand, my company, whether you work for somebody else or whatever, right? Like, what is that experience? One of the things Derek and I talked about, we talk about, like, one of our values as a couple is to leave people better than they found them. And I kind of adopted that in the company, in my company, really more than anything. And it's not polished in a pretty like sentence yet, excuse me, but it's very much the idea of, it's very, very much the idea of the point of my brand is transformation, right? Like, transformation is my number one priority. And when I focus on my number one priority, which in this case is transformation, everything else takes care of itself, right? When I focus on, doing the inner work on myself and being an energetic match to the business I want to create, I call in the clients I want to call in, they get the results they want to, like, they get really fucking incredible results. And then the results start to speak for themselves, right? Like, that's the way I've been thinking about the company, which is so, so different than I ever did before, right? Before it was like, go out, get clients, go out, get clients, go out, get clients, go out, get clients. And of course, I have a heart for service. I wanted my clients to get good results. It wasn't like I was just like burning and churning through clients without serving them. But I spent so much more time thinking about how can I get more clients instead of how do I create a product that is fucking incredible that clients can't not buy, people can't not buy, my clients can't not share, people can't not be like, you have to be interested about it. When you meet me, when you experience me, when you find my content, when you listen to my podcast, you want what I have, right? Like that's what I work on every single day energetically, is I want to become somebody who is an energetic match where people experience me. They're like, I'll have what she's having. I don't know how you got here. I don't know why I feel the way that I do in your presence, but please help me. And it's happening more and more and more because I focus on it so much, right? So I take the action of running a marketing plan and marketing my services and doing the things I know how to do. But I also have this beautiful belief in myself and this conviction in myself to get results for my clients. There's not so much pressure on on the marketing because I understand the product is that fucking good. And as long as the product is good, people will buy it. And I believe that so truly. So again, and again, I happen to do the product in this situation. That might not be the case for you, but if you believe really strongly in whatever it is that you're selling, whether you're an entrepreneur or a salesperson or a real estate agent, like if you believe really strongly in home ownership, right? Like that's okay, right? If you sell widgets, but you really see value in the way the widgets make people's businesses or lives better, right? So it doesn't have to be, again, this deep-seated passion in yourself, but rather this deep-seated passion or connection to the idea that like what I do, what I sell, what I offer, the service I provide or the product I provide is really fucking valuable. And as long as I know that and believe that, I will always attract the right people. That is true alchemy, right? Asking yourself the question, where am I forcing and where am I flowing, right? So my job really as a mentor, like with my clients, I don't ever really give them a marketing strategy. I really, like I explained to my client, we built her launch plan. It was really a strategy that excited her, right? And it's that alignment that creates magnetism. So I think that that's just such a really important part of this. Okay. So recap: masculine, results, right? Feminine, experience, alchemy, pure fucking magic, right? Masculine energy is results. Feminine energy is experience, and alchemy is the magic. That's where you're like, I don't know, I only made like 4 phone calls yesterday, but I got 3 new opportunities, right? That's that balance of that. And sales and marketing becomes easy to do when both are aligned. It doesn't become this slog, which again, so many business owners, it's like, oh, I've got to get clients, right? I have a client in business therapy right now that she told me that. She's like, literally, I almost left my business or my career because getting clients is something I hate so much. And I was like, I get it, but let's fix that, And so that's what this conversation is really about. If you feel that stickiness, because when you, really learn how to work with your masculine and feminine energy and really lean into the energy game, it becomes so much easier. I truly believe that sales and marketing doesn't have to feel heavy, that it can be fun, it can be intuitive, it can be magnetic, right? Like truly believe that is the feminine energy advantage. And I'm so excited about this body of work that I'm actually going to run an entire masterclass. I believe I'm going to do it the last week of October. I've never done this before, but it's actually going to be a paid masterclass. So I am developing, it's a 3 or 4 part, it's not 100% clear yet, masterclass about this, where we're going to really take a deep dive and I'm going to walk you through the process. I told you I've walked a couple clients through how do we build our intuitive marketing plan. We're actually going to do that together in this masterclass. And so this is a paid masterclass. If you are an existing client, it is included in your investment. But if you are not, you can absolutely positively be part of this masterclass. I'm going to teach it live and then you'll get to keep the content forever as long as you have it. So I'm really excited about that. So DM me if you want more information about that. But then also, I've got something also really exciting and new that I'm rolling out in October is the Uncensored Self Experience. And what the Uncensored Self Experience is a culmination of all the work. It's actually a full 6-month program where we combine mastermind, which is like collaboration and connection with other women leaders, with other really professional women, which is so fucking invaluable. Also education. Every program that I have created since December till now, and everything I create while you're in the program is yours, right? So in and of itself, just in that investment, like it's bananas, right? And then there's the coaching and mentorship. So there's the hybrid group coaching mastermind style, right? There's the education, which I think is really important as women. We like to understand, but then there's also mentorship. So there's an online platform where there's a group. So you can obviously ask for advice publicly in the group, but you have messenger access to me. So you have that ability to reach out to me private, individually, ask a question if it's something you don't want to ask in a group. And then every single month we'll do one call together. So we will spend 45 minutes on the phone or Zoom every single month, right? So, but the way I'm going to do this is we're going to kick off with an onboarding call. So in the 6 months, you're actually going to get 7 one-on-one calls, right? Weekly coaching and mastermind calls. All of my materials is included in your investment. It's a bananas of a deal. The page, I'm going to I'll drop the link in the show notes if you want to take a look at that. It's being worked on right now. That's why I'm not giving you the URL because I don't know what it is at the time of this recording. But I want you to go to that URL. You can buy there. You can click to buy. We can also have a conversation. I think this is so important. So many people nowadays are like, I don't want to book sales calls or I don't want to talk to people or anything like that. Like I fucking love talking to people. And if you're not sure, if you have a question, like I also, when people invest in my services, I want you to be 100% sure that this is the fit for you, that I'm a fit for you, that the material is a fit for you in a really meaningful way. So you can feel free to book a self-discovery call. If you can find my link tree, it's also in the show notes. You can go book a self-discovery call. I don't do high pressure as we talked about here, right? we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to make a recommendation based on what we talked about. If it winds up being the sales experience, great. Game on. If you're like, I'm not ready for a high ticket investment, but I do really want to be part of the masterclass, that's going to be available for purchase as well. The price price point on that is going to be $297. So it's going to be either a 3 or 4 part masterclass live teaching. You'll get to keep those materials. It's going to be $297. So you can just purchase that to get started. And one of the things I want to tell you is that we have a tendency to do this where you're like, well, I want to kind of sort of buy the masterclass, but I actually really kind of want to be in the experience. So I'm going to wait and not buy the masterclass until I'm ready for a high ticket investment. And I'm going to encourage you not to do that. And here's why. Because that's typically a shame move. And I know it because I used to do this, right? I don't want the entry level stuff. I want the big dog stuff. I'm a big dog and I will invest like a big dog when I have the money or when I have the time. And we both know that there's never been enough money and there's never been enough time for you to be willing to invest like a big dog. Let's not kid. So what I want you to encourage you to do, and what I had to do when I was really humbled monetarily in my business and didn't have a lot of resources to invest, is I started buying digital products. I was such not a digital product girl. I was like, I don't want your freebie. I don't want your $33 this. I don't want your $97 that. I just was such a fucking snob about it. But when I didn't have any money and I wanted help, I was like, maybe there's more to this than that. And so I started buying lower ticket things. I joined a couple of memberships. It was really, they were really helpful. They were very, very helpful. And I was very glad that I pushed through my shame and embarrassment and frustration at not being able to afford the thing that I wanted, and at least said, but I'm taking a step, right? Intentional reality creation is one step at a time. You know, like to get to $1 million business, you have to pass through $50,000, then $100,000, then $150,000, then $200,000, right? But we have a tendency, especially as high achievers, to be like, well, if I'm not a millionaire yet, I'm a fucking failure, right? Like if I can't join this 6 months program, then I'm not going to get coaching or I'm not going to get support. Fuck that. Start where you are. And I say that because I have several digital products, right? So this masterclass is one. My Uncensored Self Discovery is a digital product that's available. I have a $97, the Feminine Energy Archetypes masterclass series, which like goes a deep dive into this, are really, really incredible offers. So I just threw a lot of information at you, but because I trust people and I believe you're really fucking smart, I don't need to talk to you about just one offer at a time. Otherwise, I will confuse you, because that is what the men told us. I believe that you have the discernment to decide what you want to do next as you listen to the show. And some of you, it might be listen to next week's show. Some of you, it might be buy one of the digital products or DM me and have a conversation and allow me to make a recommendation. For some of you, it's book a self-discovery call. But don't stay stuck. Don't stay stuck. I often say to people that staying stuck is a choice. Staying stuck is a choice. You can always transform. You can always do something different. A new thought is always available. Even if it's just listening to this podcast over and over and over again until you fucking get it. Okay. You have more power in your little finger than you even realize. And this material will really, really change your life. So I look forward to connecting with you. I look forward to talking to you next week. And I look forward to those of you that I'm going to have conversations with about the work we're going to do together. Talk soon. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Uncensored Self Podcast. If this conversation cracked something open for you, trust that that's the work. And share this episode with a woman in your life who's ready to stop performing and start creating. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave a review. It helps this message reach the women who need it most. Remember, you're the creator. The rules are yours. And your uncensored self, she already knows what to do. Keep leading, keep listening, keep becoming.